I like to take people on little mental journeys so that they can see how their mind works and they can find themselves in environments that they enjoy so that they can understand and understand how their mind operates and how their mind produces some sort of three-dimensional reality, some physical environment. Show them how programs run inside of their brain. Step into ideas of dream worlds and overminds and soul groups and all of those kind of airy-fairy, fanciful things, and how those really connect to what your reality is, what your actuality is, and how we navigate through the mental fields, how we navigate through how the mind operates. There's a lot of programs and systems running in the brain, and there's a lot of systems that seem to be running with no one at the helm in the outer world, in the outer environment that we see. And by coming to terms and comprehending how the mind functions and what its use is, and how to really navigate and explore how it operates, you can dissect and reassemble all of your ideas and all of the thoughts that might be passing through. A lot of people cling to the thoughts, the ideas, and there's ways to let those things and ideas go, like let them just pass by. And that's part of a larger idea of people trying to learn meditation, and it takes years and years and years, and some people maybe never become very successful at it, whatever success might be. All of these terrible thoughts or these things that crop up in our brains, and then we have all of these wonderful thoughts, but why don't those ones come true? And then we notice the terrible thoughts really don't come true either. So we find, like, what are these thoughts, and what do we attach ourselves to, and how do we maybe slow those thoughts down or have them not enter our mind and our space anymore. And the ways to do that, people try to correct the mind with the mind, and it's it's a fool's quest. It's you could go through life having Pyrrhic victory after Pyrrhic victory, and what that means is that you might win the fight, but you've basically lost the war because you've lost all of your mind, all of your men, that is of no value. So you can spend your life trying to use the operating system in your mind to correct what might be imbalances in the mind, what might be the way thoughts are passing through, and we use those in non-constructive ways, and sometimes destructive ways. Yes, certainly we use thoughts in constructive ways as well, but trying to eliminate all of those things, the destructive thoughts, the constructive thoughts even, and getting rid of the thoughts altogether. And the way to do it isn't necessarily to sit there in meditation for hours and weeks and months, and there's a lot of things that go into that. Some is really your physical environment that will change, and by changing that, you change your inward, what's going on inside of your mind. I used to have this this idea, and it's pretty easy to see. If you look at someone's house, you can see how their mind is arranged. And if you look at you see someone leaving cupboards open, or you watch somebody cook, or little idiosyncrasies of people. You can see things that are going on inside of their mind. And people have this idea that they can fix the mind with the mind when the mind is the thing that's in the way. You can't fix a salty soup with more salt. But if we go from a different direction, because if we consider that the outward environment actually affects us, we can, instead of trying to close our eyes and sit in meditation and say, okay, we've got control of our mind and control of our thoughts, and then we open our eyes up and we say, oh, look at this environment really hasn't changed too much. What you can do is, really, it's like simple things of cleaning up your house, cleaning up your environment, whatever it might be. Whether it's just a tiny little, as people put it, a sacred space, a little area where you can be focused, and what you do is, it's the idea of the flower of life. Then you make that area bigger. You multiply that area. If you can make a tiny little space, maybe it's just your bed, maybe it's a chair, maybe it's what people like to do is they step that up and make a little altar, and then they have things there that are anchor points for the mind. They're physical anchor points. And in the past, I've always talked about, like, you don't get to take any objects with you through the portal to the other dimensions. That's not part of the deal. You get to bring your brain. You get to bring your memories, not necessarily your brain, but your memories and your ideas. And so there is a way to get your mind in working order, to work for you. And when you look at something like a shrine or a temple, or you look at what you'd call a holy place, or you look at something small, like if you just set yourself up a little altar, the dilemma with that I've always explained to people is by having too many physical objects, you find yourself, as they say, having idol worship or worship, that the actual physical object becomes more important than the mind. But as I've always said as well, that writing something out, or using a piece of paper and a pen and writing out a sigil, or whatever it might be, that's a step, it's a crutch, but it's helpful. It's very helpful. Some people don't need that. Some people, like, for instance, they go in the other direction. Some people, their brain will just eventually just go, okay, here's how this works, and the environment starts to change because their mind does. That's like sorcery. That's very high-level power. But a lot of people really need to go from the other direction and do physical things. This is why, it can be a pitfall when you talk about people going to do yoga, or going into meditation, or going to work out, that they become too focused on the physical outcome, meaning, okay, I'm going to get in shape, and my body's I'm going to get it all in shape, and it's all going to work well. And then they've lost, 2-3 years go by, and the focus was actually to get their mind right, to have some sort of working order in their mind, and it's become actually a bigger crutch than anything, because now the addiction is the working out, or the addiction is the having the idol worship, whether it's your body, or whether it's a shrine, or whether it's going to a church, or whatever it might be. And so there's that teeter-totter there that I try to speak about. And these little clues for people to get their mind functioning in a way that they're not sticky to thoughts. They don't grab on and latch on to thoughts that aren't theirs, because in reality nothing is yours. No thoughts are yours. This moment passes, and here goes another adventure. Here goes another. I'm not saying that physical objects are not fun and wondrous, and it's part of the experience here. But it's learning how to use those things to become reminders. Everything becomes a reminder to your mind of creating a better environment. And the reason I get into a lot of fasting and feasting with people, that's one of the major ideas that I really broke down and displayed to people in the earlier works that I did, the earlier, I don't know, 500 videos that I put out, was trying to show people and explain to people about what fasting does, and what cleaning the body does, and what feasting does. And one of the biggest things is the cleanliness of the body, and that comes through fasting. It comes through removing. It's like if your house is very messy and you remove everything out of it, it's, see, there's a curious thing that happens. If it comes too empty, then you're like, whoa, there's nothing here. And some people can get lost in that emptiness of the mind, as well as in a fast. You can get lost in a fast because you've come to the, like, personally, whenever I was fasting on water, and I've done a lot of different types of fasts, and when you say fast, I mean fasten, or speed up, or to participate in something different. Like, I'll fasten myself to this idea. And sometimes they, like, during fasting on water, it became like, oh man, well, I can go without food for a month easy. Oh, this is, and it became more of an obsession, and it became more of a, well, that was my eidolon, that was my idol, that was the thing, and I got lost in that, and that can happen to people, and it happens mostly in a different way. It happens mostly to people in the feasting mode, where everything, all the food, or all of the language, or all of the identifying things. I'm a teacher. I'm a doctor. I'm a librarian. There's these identifiers for people, and those identifiers become signposts in the mind. And so the trick is, and it's not even a trick, just the path, the actions, the things that you need to do. Sometimes they're not actions at all. It's literally doing the fast, just relaxing and not intaking so much information, because that's one of the biggest things, is we intake too much information. We intake from out there. There's so many things going on, and there's too much influx of information. And so this gets into this part that I wanted to start with, but I thought I would just build up to this. What is the natural human? What is the original human-like being? What does it look like? What does it do? What is the mind of a human, a feral human? And when you look at creatures in the wild, what does a rewilded mind look like? What does a rewilded body and environment? What does that look like? What if you can rewind into the beginning of wherever you think things came from? What would be the highest source of order and of the body and the mind? And how feral and free and unwound would that be? And then we can look at the kind of processes that go through physical, mental, and if we combine those and say there's some sort of spiritual journey here. I think that's, as I've put before, I think when you're born, if let's use this idea of the rewilding, when you're born, it's a physical universe. There's no mental universe. And then there's a mental universe. And then the spiritual universe becomes apparent. And then, somewhere in that spiritual universe you recognize spirit. And then somewhere from there you recognize what a soul might be, or what the soul might be, or the larger human condition, species, populace, the larger overmind, the soul group, the whatever this experience is. It's a build up to that. I mean, you came from that, but then your experience as a feral creature, as in fact a feral creator, because a child still creates, no matter how you look at it, especially a child that is unfettered. Like there's no barriers put on what a child can do and accomplish. The expression of sound, art, music, creation, design, all of it. The whole becoming an engineer of their own doing, of their own mind, of their own body, of the outward environment. Those things are, that's the real thing. And what do those processes look like? What kind of consumption habits? What does their movement pattern look like? A baby is, man, they're flexible. They crawl, they're moving all around, and their body moves well. And what are they eating? They're not eating meat. I mean, I don't want to get into like this process, I don't want to get into like meat eating and fish eating and all this, but I'm saying from the most basic thing, what are they consuming? They're consuming milk and water, clean water. You wouldn't give a baby dirty water, you give them clean water. And then as they're growing up, as they're growing, as they're getting bigger, like if we got rid of all of the notions and all of the ideas and all of these religious notions and these scientific discoveries, and get rid of all of it, and the child grows, what kind of encouragement for that child would be there? And even if we took away the encouragement, even took away all the parents saying no, 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 and we took away all the patting on the back and saying great job, if we took all of that away, what would the child be consuming and producing? Well, from a physical standpoint, dietary, deity, meaning what is their God, the things they're putting in their mouth and consuming. Well, it would be fruits, wouldn't it? That would be the most delightful thing for a child. They would see the fruit that was glowing, that dropped to the ground, and it smells delicious. It's bright, it's aromatic, and the flavor. Everything about that would say, this is what I need to eat. This is what I want to consume. They would smell flowers. They might even eat some flowers. And they would finally, they would get to some vegetation. And you know what? In the beginning, wherever it was, there wouldn't be too many people eating the vegetation. The all of the green stuff, all of the vegetation. That's, as I'll get into a little later and explain maybe, that fibrous substance was only to push things out. It wasn't really supposed to be consumed. That vegetation was, along with the root systems, were for more spiritual practice and shamanic practice. The bark of the tree, the roots of the tree, those vines, the green stuff, all of that. What do we know about green stuff? The flowers that become marijuana and all of these different plants. Like, look at how many plants and herbs are smokable or used in stews, right? But all of these things are ethnogens, and they're all psychedelic. To a child especially, it's all very psychedelic. But because we've gone so far away from that, we've put shoes on, we're not walking around barefooted anymore, and we're consuming things that we really wouldn't have, if left to our own devices. A child would have never come to the conclusion that animal there needs to be hunted down with a bow and arrow and shot and slaughtered, and that process, I can't for one moment in my entire being believe that any man or woman anywhere would under any normal circumstances find that to be the thing that they need to do when they're sitting there literally on cloud nine, consuming the highest form of knowledge that came from the fruits of the tree. And then we get into all of the other things and the vegetation and whatnot, but they would have been interacting with the plants and interacting with the animals in nature. So, and somewhere in there was creation of art and music and sound, and then architecture and building things as an engineer, and none of that involved destruction. It was all construction. It was all constructive workmanship. So I don't know. I can't. It's hard to explain to people, and a lot of people have theories, and whether it was the fall of something, or maybe aliens, or maybe we ate something we shouldn't have. I mean, I have my ideas. Maybe we started cooking with iron skillets, and we maybe shouldn't have done that. Maybe there was really a different species or race of people. Maybe there was, as some people put it, there's some Star Wars things going on, and you've got all different cultures and all different stories. Now, however that looks, whatever it might be, we can still say, well, what if we just all hit the reset button and went to the most basic, nutritious, and the word nutritious comes of the word nut. What would be the craziest thing we could do? What would be the seed? How would that work? What would be the original source of all of life and creation? What would we do? What would it look like? What would it sound like? What would it smell like? There'd be a lot more going on with the way we smell things. What kind of environment would we put ourselves in? Could anyone really imagine constructing an environment that looks like the city? I mean, even for that matter, could anybody really imagine constructing a house that is a square, boxed walls? And I mean, you think of a tree, and I mean, how would you go about making that lumber? Well, the process of even cutting down a tree to make 2x4s has become industrialized, where they make trees and they plant them in lines to make them grow fast, straight up and down. And so that would have never happened. And there's nothing ergonomic about that. There's so many things that are built that are not ergonomic. And I think about that often as well. Like, look at a piano. Nothing ergonomic about that at all. It's very peculiar where you have to put your hands, and the way that you have to move your wrist, and how you have to sit. The design of that is completely bizarre. You can look at a lot of instruments and say, the design of that is completely bizarre. How did that come about? That must have been from a crooked, strange, deranged mind. Because anybody with any kind of clue would have built that ergonomically. The sounds that could have come out of that, like, you can change the position of those piano keys and it still create the same sound, but it'd be more ergonomic. And why wasn't it built that way? So now as we get into all of these kind of ideas of not just industrialization and not getting into, like, I'm not getting into all the government this and the kings of this, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot of theories, a lot of ways this could have worked out, but what would it look like? Because certainly these wires hanging all over the place in the suburbs and in the cities, like how cars are built and how big they are, and no one in their craziest mind would ever consider building something like this system that it seems to exist here now. It's beyond bizarre. And getting back to what would it look like? I mean, even people that are thinking they're doing something a little better, like living off the land, I mean, their house is still, I mean, they've like denied technology, and there's nothing wrong with technology, because a lot of technology is freeing people. It's freeing people from mundane tasks. A lot of it has really, become a burden for people, but at the same time, you find these people that they get out of the system, but then they're still living in houses that are built out of trees. Like, why are they cutting the trees down? Why aren't you living in a lean-to? Why aren't you living in a mud hut? Now, I'm not suggesting we have to go all the way back to the beginning of time and thinking that, we were living in mud huts, because there's ways to even upgrade that and use both parts of the mind to create more, better environments. Like, we know of the power of, say, the pyramids, right? Like, we know that there's a reason they were built. We have lots of theories, and I think a lot of people are very close to knowing exactly what they are. We know about the power of crystals. We know what they're used in. We know that we can. Well, hey, we know that a square house is not good. We know that curves in a house would be better. So, hey, maybe we could use nanocrystals and mud huts to do something. Seems like something interesting going on there. And we know that the beds with springs in the mattresses are not good, and we're not going to get into auric fields or anything, even though that's a problem. Nobody wants to be sleeping on springs. That's weird. It's nothing comfortable about that at all. Have you ever slept on in a pile of grains? That's awesome, right? Have you ever used like a buckwheat pillow? Oh, it's amazing. There was a time I ordered, I don't know how many hundreds of pounds of rice, and I basically laid it across the bed and made a rice bed. That was amazing. Laying on a rice bed. It was amazing. Sleeping on that, how cool it was, and how just comfortable it was, formed to my body. Oh man, it was firm yet formed. I mean, it was perfect. Now, but how do we get so far away that now we're sleeping on something that NASA made? That I don't know. I'm not gonna. I want to steer people back to like how the mind was and how the mind functions and where are we now and what can we do to encourage what's already here. Like the technology and the ideas and the wisdom is already here. It's already in the universal mind. People already have it. It's already in our DNA. It's already available. Like there's people out here that are highly, extremely intelligent, artistic, creative, which is about 99.9% of people. Most people just don't have the capacity to unfurl that, unleash that, because the way that their time is eaten up doing mundane tasks. But as I just want to continue on this little thought game for people about what would the child, what would they be eating, what would they be designing, what would they be doing. Now, if we all came from that standpoint, the way that societies would look would be just the bounty, the plenty, the world would be exactly what it should be, but yet somehow some vision, some decayed vision, we could call it a matrix. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's just changing your mind frame. All of a sudden, the same way in a dream, you could just reality shift, jump through dimensions. You could just you could time hop. You could, when you go to dreams, maybe you're living in a different body. Maybe you're living in another parallel life to this one of yours. Or maybe you're just in a whole different place altogether. But what's not to say you couldn't do that here? Everybody's kind of familiar with the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect. I call it a mandala effect for a lot of reasons. I did some earlier videos on that. I'll re-release those for people. But there's been plenty of things that I know people just go, wow, how did that just happen? Or, man, wasn't that different yesterday? Where did that thing come from? Was that building there? Where did these trees come from? Did we just dimensionally shift and merge realities together? Or just jump off this track and onto a different one? Going through a time tube? Well, now, these are all very important things. If you can unleash your mind from it's really what it is just buried in a lot of thoughts that aren't yours, because none of the thoughts are yours. You just get to jump on the good ones and participate with the good thoughts, the ones that are more encouraging to your life. And there's ways of doing that, and this is why I went through this whole what would we consume, what would we do, from a feral creature to the most creative being. Well, you'd fast, you'd clean yourself with distilled waters and fruits, and dare I say, consume your own living waters dare I say, consume your urine. It's beyond brilliant. And it's all about cleaning your blood and cleaning your mind and filling your body back up with clean water so you can rehydrate your brain so that your brain can function on a higher capacity. Because what's really going on with the brain is you have literal fried out mechanisms, and you have other tracks in your brain that are short circuited, meaning this firing goes from this place in your brain to this place in your brain, and the rest of it's filled with murky waters, gunk, gook, whatever you want to call it. Just it's not, electrical signals aren't able to be pulsed in different directions in your mind. And as soon as you can clean those things out, then all of a sudden the thoughts that you have are different. The algorithms, the whole process, the whole way you think, the whole way you can ingest information alters. And as soon as you can alter the way that you ingest, process, and digest, and then as soon as you can adjust all of that, then you adjust the outcome, the output. So then, no matter what the input is, once if you clear up the system, like if you hooked up an amplifier to a guitar, you have the same input coming. It's a guitar playing, but if you have a different amp, if you clean up the wiring mechanism, if something that you put a wah-wah pedal on there, you put different little, foot pedals on there, you can adjust everything coming in. You can adjust the processing, and the output is completely different. It doesn't matter what the input is anymore. And so that's just a matter of recalibrating your brain by ingesting the proper things to clean your brain up. And so we're at a place, and when I get into backwards mapping things, we're in a place where most people need to be using the green, the earthy stuff, the clays, the muds on the skin. They need to be using green, detoxifying things, that basically like cilantro, because what these things are doing is they're binding and bonding themselves with heavy metals and things that shouldn't be in your body to remove them. So that's where most people are. And so after you get moving these things, you clean up your organs in your body, and then finally your brain gets rehydrated fully, and all of your capacity to think and be creative and ingest information and alter information and make a new output out of your being, that all gets adjusted. And then this reality that we seem to live in, this giant soup of consciousness, all get altered just like that. Everything is just poof. It's magic. It's no different when you jump into a different body outside of what you think this is, this dense body. It's no different than dreaming. It's no different than going into the astral realms. The process tends to be a little slower here because it's dense. But as soon as you release some of your density, and this is what people talk about, raise your vibration, raise your vibration. Well, I always give people this little clue, like, okay, don't pop your pineal gland open quite yet. Don't raise your vibration, because if you do all that with a dirty body, you're only going to be reflecting all of the junk that's in your body. So you want to clean your body before you start, throwing your third eye open. You want to clean out your organs before you start raising your vibrations, because as I spoke about this a long time ago as well, like whenever I've done some urine fasts and done some things, reality was coming at me so fast that I had to actually eat. I had to densify myself, because I couldn't handle how quickly reality was being manifested, because my brain wasn't in the proper firing order, because my brain was imbalanced. And there was obviously still toxin in my system running through. So, this is all to say, yeah, get on some cleanses, guys. Get your body cleaned out and change the world. Change. And I'm not even saying I'm not saying go to Africa and save the children. I'm not saying go into the neighborhood and feed people. I mean, hey, if you want to do that too. But when I say change the world, is it change your world? Change, because that alters everything. As soon as you start adjusting your own levels and your own position internally, inside of your temple, your body. It adjusts your mind. As soon as you adjust those two things, the outward, what's around you changes. And this gets into all the more fun things that people like to talk about, auras and chakras and all of these things. But those are all just fun words and things to say. And it's when we simplify it all. I like to simplify things. Just clean up your blood, clean up the soup inside of you, and the larger soup that's outside of you. Because if you're made of water, and remember we're living in a water-based system, hydrogen and oxygen. It's all around us, and it's inside of us too. And if this is holographic in any way, you'll see the results by cleaning up your internal environment to make the external environment vibrate with that. And so again, don't get on this, oh, we need to eat all of this high vibe food if you're not cleanly first. It can be that's always the mistake people make. So yeah, have a beautiful time. Enjoy yourself, have fun, stay creative, inspire the world, and if you can't do that, at least inspire yourself. Talk soon, y'all.